Greetings, it's Sunday night. I posted the video on this thing here this morning, and it's busy all day. I've been quite industrious lately. I've been working on my cabinet for the past 2 weeks, and I finally got that done day before yesterday, actually. It's still out here because I need to get a good picture of it. And to do that, I need to clear some space out over here so I can move it over and get a clean shot of it without any clutter in the background. I thought about packing it up into the back of my van and driving it out to like a dirt road or a parking lot even, and putting it there to give me something a little bit more dramatic. But I said that's too much work. I would have done that a couple of years ago, maybe. Thought about it more seriously, but now it's just too much work. I've got better things to do, okay? Like make useless things like this here. What prompted me to do this? Well, I talked about that in the Build article. Really what prompted me to do it is I wanted to get something out this weekend, and I couldn't get that cabinet done. And not to mention that cabinet is probably going to take me the full week, or at least a good 2 or 3 days to edit, if I'm going to put it all in one video, which I'm aiming for. I'm thinking the time is ripe for an epic type build on something that nobody wants, except me, and I built it for myself. It looks good. I like it. I like the stuff that I did there too. The stuff that I did there was interesting, so if you're actually interested in building stuff, then it would be of interest to you, but most people aren't. Most people only watch this stuff for passing entertainment type thing. Anyway, let's talk a little bit more about this, and it's clear why I made it. I made it to get content, and I thought it was interesting. I like the pattern. I saw this pattern before. Actually, is this tri-spoke, I guess I could call it, pattern that's inside here. I can't remember the name of I can't remember the movie that I saw it in, but it was a couple of years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I always say it's a couple of years ago. It's more than a couple of years ago. It's probably 4 or 5 years ago I saw it. And I did a screen grab. I got a picture of it on my computer, and I started drawing something out in SketchUp to do kind of a wall art thing with it. And it was one of those future projects that I'll get around to one of these days, like all the other future projects. But yeah, this is it here, basically. It wasn't like this, though. Like, this is different. And what's inspired this, if you read the article, and read the title, actually, is the new Apple computer that I would never buy because I've never used a Mac and I never would own a Mac. I mean, I'm happy with the computer I have. I certainly wouldn't be buying something like that. That's like $6,000 for a computer that's not as capable as the one I have right now. That costs like half that. This thing here was tricky to make. And in the Build article, I talked about laying it out incorrectly to begin with. And I had to sand all that off and lay it out again with the correct spacing. What was wrong with my first layout is that there would be not enough space between the holes. These are 3/4 inch holes. And I figured it would be too brittle. There'd be too much of a chance that they would break the bridges between the holes while I'm drilling it out. So I fixed that, and I came up with this layout right here. Another thing before I got started on that, okay, I did it with a Forstner bit. I did it with 2 Forstner bits, actually. I did it with a good one, and then I used an old one that I reground. I ground the tip off, and I actually rounded it over a little bit and got rid of that rim that cuts along the edge. And I used that for a complete second pass all the way through on both sides again. And now what that does is it gets rid of that hole is in the middle. Although it did leave a little bit of a burn mark where I couldn't sharpen that up sharp enough so that it wouldn't get rid of that. But then I don't mind that little burn mark. But that kind of looks like a hole in the thing, but it's not. It's not the hole, it's a burn mark. Take my word for it. I'll put a very close-up picture on the screen right now, and you can have a look for yourself. But the idea with this one is to round out the bottom. See, originally I was going to do this with what's known as a core box bit. And so here's what that looks like. It's round on the tip, because that's what the thing has. And I put this in my drill press first to try to do a sample. And what I wound up with was way too much chatter. I did it at the speed that I have the thing on now, and it was crazy. Even clamping it down, I couldn't hold it tight enough. And then I put it up to the maximum speed that the thing could go was 3,000, and that improved it a little bit, but it's still way too much chatter. And what chatter is when the thing moves around too much and it, it wrecks the hole. So this was out. Now, I could have put it in the router, and I tried this as well. But this would have to be extremely, supremely sharp. And you would have to be routing some other wood other than cherry or maple, because both of those burn very easily. So if you're doing this with a router, you can count on either panel black or spending hours on end sanding out all the burn marks, because that's what that would have produced. It would have produced a nice round bottom hole, but it would have been completely black, which is what I didn't want. I wanted to show as much of the wood grain as possible. I could use it to make a computer. The only problem is I don't need another computer. I've got enough computers. I don't need any more. I've got one in my office. I got one in the living room. That's all I need. The one in the office I was going to upgrade to, I wasn't going to upgrade the guts. I've already upgraded the graphics card, because the problem I was having with the two I had before, if you watch the build that I did, I don't know what it is, a year and a half ago now, probably, or more, where I transferred it from that black case into the wooden case. I had two Radeon cards in there, and man, they were belting out heat. Those things were like a furnace inside there. And I said to myself, if I'm going to face another summer with those things running while I'm trying to edit a video, I'm going to quit. So I bought the NVIDIA card, the RTX 2080. Was expensive, but man, does it run cool. And the program runs a lot better. So what else can I talk about? I don't know. I'm kind of sick of designing stuff, man. I would just like to come out and, okay, like that cabinet, I designed that quite a lot before I got started on it. It wasn't bad, though, because it's a cabinet. Not many moving parts. And the door on the top that swings up and opens up, I'll put a little clip in here so you can see what I'm talking about. That was really the only tricky part about it. The only thing that I wasn't absolutely positively sure about. Everything else was just same old, stuff that I've done 1,000 times before. But the table side, I'd like to come out here and just start building it, actually, and see where it goes. I may do that. I may do a very minimum of planning and just come out and start doing it and see, what happens. It'll fail. That's what'll happen. I used to be able to do that stuff when I was younger, and you know what? Half the time they failed as well. But these days I can't afford to have things fail. I've had too many things, I've come out here, like even this thing here, if I can reach it again and not fall off the workbench. Even this thing here, after I got this, I was really enthusiastic for this because they had just released the damn computer, and so I thought this would be hot, right? And so when I made this, and then while I'm making it, I'm saying to myself, why are you doing that? Like, who's going to be interested in that thing there? Really? Like, why? And then I almost threw away the footage for it. Like I've done so many times before. There's so many projects that I've started and actually finished that wound up in the garbage because I didn't deem them worthy of putting the time and effort into editing. Oh yeah, that was the other thing I wanted to talk about there, the editing, and how I got up yesterday morning to edit that video, and I went in and I looked through the clips and I said to myself, man, I don't want to do this today. I've got other things I want to do. Because when I'm out here working, like I have been on that cabinet, and I'm like gung-ho for that, and I'm physical, you know, and you're living in the physical world. You don't want to leave the physical world. You want to stay in the physical world. You don't want to go sit down for hours on end. You don't want to do that. So I said, to hell with this. I just took all the clips and I threw them in a timeline and I started cutting. And I didn't do anything more than that. I just cut. And I said, this is good. This is good enough. And I didn't record a voiceover for it. I said, let it go and see how it does. How bad can it do? I mean, I made that drill press vise video, and it took me a full day almost to record the voiceover for that after editing the video. And how well did that do? You know, that did terribly. So yeah, I just roughly edited that and slapped the end card on there. No music, no nothing. You know, didn't pay attention to transitions or anything like that. Didn't pay attention to the audio. I started messing with the audio in the beginning. I said, no time for that. Just get it edited, get it all cut up and put together and let it render. And I uploaded it and done. You know, it took me 25 minutes to edit that. And it felt so good because then I could come back out here and do what I wanted to do. That doesn't mean that I'm going to do every video like that, by the way, because I've already had complaints from people, you know? Like one guy said, do you ever talk in any of your videos? Anyway, I'm going to wrap this one up here. I think I've said enough, probably too much. I'll have a lot of editing to do on this.